Alright, so, how do I start this? Okay, so, Outcome Memory 0.2. I love it. It is a big, long-awaited update. So, I'm gonna mainly talk about, like, what they added in, and, like, the new characters, the new maps, and at the end, I'm gonna be talking about the bad of this update. Now, the bad of this update is definitely something you guys won't expect, really, from me. But yeah, I didn't really think I'd make a video talking about the 0.2 update. I know I'm kind of late on that because the update dropped like a half a week ago, I think. But better late than never, am I right? So, Outcome Memories finally got the 0.2 update. The long awaited update, by the way. We've been waiting for this for months and it's finally out. So, I'm really talking about like mainly just new stuff like the new survivors, the new killers, and the new maps. So, I'm gonna go on about the new survivors first, then the new killers, then the new maps, and then I'll talk about the bad den in there. So, new survivors. Let's start off with Blaze. Blaze the cat. She's got like three abilities, technically four in a sense. So Blaze is actually a pretty simple survivor to learn. Like she's not OP, but she's not weak either. She's pretty much just fine at best. Um, we got her first ability, which she does like a kick, like she does some sort of like kick, and when she kicks the killer, she bounces back while the killer gets stunned. Not to mention, if you get like 50. Oh yeah, and that's another thing too. She's got her javelin as well, where she throws at the killer, and if it hits the killer, it just pushes them back. She's also got a bar too, just like Sonic. And how it works is that the more of that bar you have up, the more you can use like her extra stuff. Like if you have it like over 50, you can use her next ability called Soul Flame, where you basically shoot out a flamethrower and it pushes the killer back and it sets them on fire. And also you can do like a more stronger stun too. Like when you do a kick, it does like a fiery kick this time. Oh yeah, you can also use her kick ability while midair as well. The only difference is when you use it midair, it depends. Like if you're pretty low enough with the bar, she'll just do like a jump boost scenario. She'll do like a dash and that's it. But if you have enough, you can definitely do like a full on flame dash, which is good for either getting away from the killer or you just use it to just stun the killer too. Overall, Blaze is pretty fun actually. She's actually a pretty cool character. She's actually a pretty good survivor if you use her correctly. Next up is Silver. Um, Now Silver is definitely the second survivor added in. Obviously, Silver is also a pretty fun survivor. He has a passive ability that makes him fly. Now that passive did get nerfed like two times. The first nerf wasn't that bad. Then the second nerf was like really bad, but then it got reverted. So yeah, but yeah, basically his passive is that he can fly, and there's like a stamina bar to when you can use that flight. If you use enough of that flight, of course it will drain the stamina bar, and of course you gotta wait for the stamina bar to regen before you can use flight again. Now we get to his abilities. His first ability is when he basically can like grab the killer with telekinesis and then just push him right back. Of course, you gotta be good at aiming with it, but once you do land it, it's pretty good. Of course, the killer can break out of it, but any good silver player would know that it's simple to just toss the EXP back early. Then we got the rocks, which are pretty hard to land. Basically, silver can rise up rocks, and you can hold to max of three rocks. If you land a rock to the EXE, it will slow them down and disable their abilities, especially their M1s. However, if you so happen to land all three rocks as silver, it will stun them, which is pretty good. But it's hard to fucking do, so that's what I mean. That's a hard ability to get used to as silver. Then we got his last ability, time reversal, where basically silver would have blue outlines around him, and he would start blinking. Eventually, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that these abilities do drain your bar as well, so you definitely gotta use your abilities wisely. But yeah, if you use time reversal, it will drain your bar while silver starts blinking. Eventually, if you use the ability again, or if you just simply let your bar empty out, silver will teleport back into its place. However, if silver does get hit, it will cancel the ability. Now, from what I knew, I think you can cancel the ability yourself. I don't know how to do it though, because I play it on console. But yeah, that is silver. Now we get to talk about the new killers. We start off with Colossus. Colossus is actually a fun EXE to play as. Going against him is, well, basically, it's a hard learning process when going against him, but once you figure out like the counters and such, he's really no big deal really. But yeah, Colossus, definitely a fun killer to play as. We got his first ability, Charge. Um Colossus will charge, and you can turn while charging. And it's hard because recently his charge got a recent nerf as we're recording this. But yeah, you can turn with it, and if you hit survivors, you will impale them, and you can slam survivors into a wall, dealing more damage. Um, Now we got his second ability, Grab. When used, Colossus will you do a lunge and attempt to grab a survivor. If he grabs a survivor, you can start beating the shit out of them as Colossus before tossing them away. Um, and then there's his like last ability as well. No, not last ability. His third ability is block, where basically Colossus will stand still in place and block. However, that ability is very easy to bait out, so definitely use that ability at a right time. And his last ability is Indicator, where it just indicates where survivors are located at. Nothing too crazy. It does slow you down though a bit when you do use it. However, it does get buffed for LMS, so that's pretty cool. What else? Oh yeah, Colossus M1. Just like TD, Colossus can down you in 2 hits simply with his M1. So definitely be careful when being in chase with him, because he is really strong. Despite being some slightly slow, he can still mess you up. Um, that's it with Colossus. Pretty fun killer actually. Like, if you're playing as him just for fun, he is pretty fun. But if you're playing as him to like sweat and such, I mean, I guess you'll have fun with him too. But I just like to get good and actually have fun with his abilities and such. I don't know. Depends on me, I guess. Um, Next up is Tripwire, the second execution that was added in. Oh, before I do talk about Tripwire, I do want to mention that the update itself. This is just only part one of the 0.2 update, because the developers do plan on adding more stuff in part two. So I'll definitely talk about the part two update when it does come out, which is probably going to be months because the devs are going to go on break once they're done with adding everything they need to add in. Honestly, the developers do deserve a break. They spent a long time cooking this big update. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Now I can get back to this algorithm video. Tripwire. Um, Tripwire is definitely a pretty strong killer, actually. Like, I'm sorry, she's a tough bitch. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm saying like she's a toughie. She's a tough son of a bitch. Um, I'll explain why in a moment. So let's start with her passive. Her passive is that when she's nearby a survivor, it will indicate their location. The passive also gets buffed for LMS as well, so that's cool. Now we get to her abilities. Her first ability is her mind trap. Basically, depending to where basically you gotta aim a certain location to where you want to place your trap. Once you use it, Tripwire will shoot a red light towards where you aimed at and will place down a trip mine. If a survivor steps on a trip mine or at least triggers the red orb surrounding the trip mine will suck them in and explode, dealing damage. Now we get our second ability, Brighter Day. Tripwire will shoot out a laser beam. And God forbid you're good at aiming with this thing, you're going to deal a lot of damage. It's a pretty deadly ability. If you know how to, if you're really good at aiming, obviously. Oh, not to mention when you shoot the ground or walls with the laser, it will place down like red electricity and it also damages you too. So definitely be careful with that as well if you ever face against her. Then we got her next ability, Reach Out, where Tripwire will shoot out, well, some weird entanglement sort of scenario out of her body. And it will, if it sticks out on the survivor, it will slowly generate HP while slowly pulling them towards her. If Survivor so happens to be pulled towards tripwires while her orb is out, while using Reach Out, their health will drain even a little bit more faster. However, survivors can stun Tripwire to stop using that ability. However, there's a risk with that. If a survivor stuns Tripwire while using Reach Out, it will damage them. So, yeah. Um, what else? What else? Oh yeah, her M1. She does low damage. She does the lowest damage out of the two executioners. However, it inflicts the bleed effect, which basically drains a bit of your health even more. So it's nothing too crazy, really. Um, I gotta say, Tripwire is a pretty strong killer. Like she's really deadly in the right hands. Like her traps do have counterplay, but it requires certain survivors to do it. Mainly Blaze, Eggman, just any survivor that can disarm the traps. The laser beam, however, definitely a really hard one. The best way to really avoid getting beamed by that red laser beam is to simply stay out of sight, or at least take cover. But the problem with doing so is that tripwires could be chasing you more of the time. So those two counterplays are pretty hard to pull off. Very hard to pull off, actually. Then we got our last ability, Reach Out, which definitely the best way to avoid that is just simply keep your distance. And you can stun Tripwire while she does have a survivor entangled. It's just it's risky because again it takes away your health if you do stun her while she's leeching off of the survivors with Reach Out. So pretty strong killer, really hard killer to really go up against. Really, like out of all the two executioners, she's definitely the hardest one to go up against by far. Yes, I know she's OP, but honestly, I could give less of a fuck about that. Because it's an asymmetrical horror game at the end of the day. The killer is the goddamn Powerwall, and that's just how it is. So, yeah. Um, so, the new survivors are pretty cool. Silver is, he's fun. Okay, he's fun, but he's also hard to get used to. Blaze is pretty fun. Colossus is fun. Tripwire is just pretty basic at best. Nothing too crazy. Now we gotta talk about the new maps, the new maps and one reworked map. So let's talk about the new maps first. Mystic Cave. Pretty big map. It's a big cave. Um, it's a pretty cool map, really. Nothing too crazy. Next up is Angel Island, and it's Angel Island except it's burning and on fire. Oh yeah, you can find the cool Master Emerald there too in this map, which is pretty cool. Now next up is the reworked Green Hill. The map is a lot bigger now, and is a lot more cooler looking. It's also got a nice, cool thing as well, where like basically the map itself will start off very beautiful until like the EXE starts chasing a survivor, and all of a sudden like the beautifulness just goes away and it becomes all rainy and such and more creepy in a sense. Very cool. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say about the maps, really. Um, yeah, I know some of these. I know these maps are good for like certain characters, but like, I mean, that's just how it is with most asymmetrical horror games. They're just bound to be maps that are really, really bad for certain characters and really good for certain characters. That's just how it is with ASIMs. Um, so I'm done talking about the new stuff. Overall, peak, just peakness at best. Really love it. Now I'm going to talk about the bad. Again, you're not going to really expect me while I'm going to talk about the bad. I know you guys are going to be expecting me to talk about the game's balance, but again, I don't really give a shit about this balance because asymmetrical horror game, you can't really balance an asymmetrical horror game. It's just impossible. But yeah, really the only bad issue I have with this update is when it launched. Mainly because it was pretty buggy when the update first came out. Like first off, apparently 2011X got some new bugs now, like some game breaking bugs, which is not cool. And the second thing I want to bring up is that there are like other bugs and such as well. Um, oh yeah, Blaze and Silver have like weird visual bugs where like their bars are like not rendering correctly. If that makes any sense for me to explain it. Um, what else? Any other bug? Oh yeah, the gameplay pause issue. Now it turns out that's not really a bug. That's more like Roblox is having very shitty problems trying to render outcome memories. I think it's mainly because of the new stuff they added in, because they added in like a bit too much stuff, and it's causing Roblox to have trouble rendering this stuff. So that's why the gameplay pause problem is there. Um, yeah. What else? Um, Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm pretty sure I'm missing like a couple more bugs and such. But if I'm missing any more bugs, should let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's really the only bad thing I have to say about the 0.2 update. It's just the bugs. The cool part is that these bugs got patched eventually as days went on. There's probably some more bugs to be patched, but yeah. So far, most of these bugs are patched, so that's good. Overall, really, really, really amazing update. I'm so glad the update finally came out. Definitely big update. Definitely worth the wait in my opinion. Um, yeah, that's all I really gotta say. Outcome Memory Sev, you did a good job. I mean, the only bad thing I really gotta say about the bugs, but that's just how it is. A new update comes out, and there just so happens to be bugs that just pushes out of nowhere. Like just out of fucking nowhere, but that's just how it is with video games nowadays. New update drops, all of a sudden there's a game breaking bug just straight up out of nowhere. Um anyways, yeah. Other than that, fantastic fucking update. You guys did a good job. I'm Boost Studios. I'm That's it. Peace out everyone. Yes!